Hi everybody, it's Veronica Drake, and it is Saturday evening, November 14th, and it is about 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I thought it really important that I come to you and share my perspective on the recent attacks in France. I'm not implying that you need to agree with this or disagree with it. I'm just about bringing to light what humanity needs more of. And if you're in agreement with this, great. If you're not, it gives you something to think about, and free will reigns. So here are a couple of my thoughts. So we're probably all wondering, how does humanity pick up and persevere after yet again another terrorist attack? Well, let me tell you a little story. When I was a little girl, I was terrified to go to sleep at night, some nights more than others. And what was I afraid of? I was afraid of the devil. That's right, the devil. And I was afraid that he was roaming in my room, hiding under my bed, in my closet, and he was surely there to take me to the burning depths of hell for whatever reason I could come up with that day. But as I have grown spiritually and emotionally, I now know that the devil isn't out there. The devil's in our minds, in my mind and in your mind, in our minds. And that is a place where far more damage can be done than something outside of us. And for the record, I further believe that the devil, if you want to clarify it a little bit more, can be identified in part as the dark side or the shadow side that we all possess. When left to run free and not be contained by any sort of love, the dark side can wreak havoc on everything and anything that it comes in contact with. So if you're holding grudges or you're wanting revenge, that's the fear. That just multiplies the dark side. And this can happen to us as a collective whole, humanity, and it starts by happening in one person at a time. So essentially, the terrorist attacks are a gathering of collective consciousness that are operating on their dark shadow side. They have banded together this darkness, and they have begun to infiltrate and destroy all that doesn't align with their thinking, all that doesn't align with the darkness. So with regard to the events in France, I liken it to a cancer, an inoperable cancer in the body. And this cancer, if you will, the terrorist has metastasized. It's just grown everywhere, and it's infected every organ in our entire world on some level. And in today's world, the form of cancer that we have is so elusive that it can't be treated with previous methods. And so if we look back at World War II, and we use that scenario as a time of cancerous invasion, if you will, an attack on humanity, we had ways of fighting it, literally and figuratively, that were much different because we were in a much different world. As that cancer was eradicated, the norm was restored. Now I say the norm, but nothing was ever the same. Nothing went back to the same, but we established a new sort of normal. And that's what is, I think, happening with this terrorist attacks. We are at a level where there's a new norm, if you will. And not that we'll ever get used to it. I'm not implying that at all. The only way that I can see, and I'm just one little person with one little thought pattern, we have one course of action. And just like when our bodies fight off an illness, it's because we boost our immune system. And we strengthen ourselves, the body, using what already resides within us. And the same is true for this time in history. And terrorism isn't just the physical attacks. It also consists of a deep-rooted fear in the hearts of humanity. And because of the terrorist attacks, we go into a fear-based thinking. And that does a whole nother realm of damage to humanity. We begin looking at everyone as the enemy. We begin wondering, well, if they have this shade of skin, or they talk with this accent, or they believe different than we do, or they worship different than we do, all of a sudden we're spinning in this fear. And when we're in fear, it's impossible to love. And so terrorism is so deep-rooted and permeates in so many ways that we just need to look at the whole picture. And we need to understand that every day we wake up and we give life to a belief system that in good consciousness was given to us, passed down to us from our families. And this belief has been instilled in us our entire lives. And let's just say that you feel comfortable falling back on this belief system. And so we can't look at other people and point the fingers and say, you have to change, because we need to start with ourselves. Now, in my life, I am more aware of what I have not learned as opposed to what I have learned. I am a perpetual student. I believe deep in my heart that at any moment, my life is precisely what I make it. If I am experiencing positive feelings and vibrating positive energy, I see signs of that everywhere. And conversely, if I'm heavy and I'm negative, I experience exactly that. And our personal world is a direct reflection of our thoughts. And I know you've heard it many times, but I want you to think about this. If you were to look at yourself in a mirror and you were frowning, okay, you can't reach out to the mirror and touch that frown and turn it around. You have to go to the source of the frown. You have to go to the actual source where the frown originated to turn it up. And this is true for all areas of our lives. We have to go to the source of our pain, the source of our fear. And it's not just the fear of the terrorism or the terrorist. It starts at a very small level. So the question on everybody's mind is, what do we do now? And I'm going to tell you, the first thing we need to do is stop asking that question, and we need to start asking, who should we be now? Who should we be to each other? Who should we be to ourselves? What needs to happen is a big shift here from a money-based, economic-based culture to a culture that is based on humanitarian principles. And whilst to some that might seem pretty passive, and maybe overly altruistic, and some would say overly simplistic. But the truth is, inner strength and conviction is way more powerful than any other. Ask Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Anne Frank, Elizabeth Smart. Internal power changes everything, and we must collectively decide to choose love, one person at a time. And that is how we begin to make a difference in the world. Don't look to the person next to you on either side and say, what are you going to do? Look inside your heart and say, what can I do? Who can I be? That's a start. I love you, and I hope that this was helpful. And I also want to remind you the power of prayer. Lift your prayers up. Give thanks. Be grateful. And stand in the glory of something bigger than we are. Take care.